Thank you. Mr. Hern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this very important meeting. Mr. Duke, I'd like to ask you a question that the witnesses sitting next to you that take risk every single day, that employ people that sign both sides of the paycheck that many times don't get paid. Are you in business? Do you hire employees? You create jobs? And so you don't think that 199A is important at all to anybody?
I'm not. I think that how we pay for things matters. So if we can find a good offset for it, maybe that's something we can discuss, but how we pay for things matters. You know, I think you and I can agree that the deficit is not on a good trajectory.
Well, it's not been on a good trajectory for about 50 years, so we could talk about that for a long time. Like my colleague to my left here, who's also a business person, we're concerned about it. We're concerned about frivolous money. I mean, there's a belief that we should just tax everybody 100%, and we get to decide where the money goes back. I don't think you agree with that. And I think at the end of the day, we have to respect the idea of when people take risk and try to create jobs and put Americans to work, they're doing that for the independence, the liberties, the freedoms that those individuals, workers can to enjoy, and so they don't have to depend on the federal government. So before coming here and still here, I've been 40 years in business, from starting as a single person in business to creating jobs, 1,200 jobs at my highest before I started selling my restaurants, but in the manufacturing world, in technology world, I've seen this as a small business entrepreneur for my entire life. Grew up in poverty. If not for the opportunities in the United States of America, for the opportunity to take risks and create jobs and help people go to work and experience that same opportunity, I wouldn't be here today. That's what these folks are doing. That's what they're talking about. And I would like for you to share with us where only the rich are benefiting from the tax cuts. Because everything that I read, both liberal, left of center, right of center, hard right, no one says that. When you look at it right now, the top 1% pay 26% tax rate. The bottom 50% or 5% pay a 3.3% rate. So I hear it's not dollars for dollars, and that's how you guys try to make this thing sound so evil. But the reality is there's being more paid at the top today than there was prior to 2017. Before I got here, I wasn't here in 2017. But as these folks have said and want to say to you, but they can't ask you questions, certainty is important. And we're getting ready to see the largest tax increase in American history starting in January of 26 if we don't do something. And we've got to figure out if it all needs to go through or if the entire package or what needs to be fixed, modified, adjusted, added to so that we have the greatest country in the world for creating jobs. It's talked about the 21% corporate rate. And I'm speaking directly to you because the information you're sharing to the committee are what they're asking you the questions on to validate the things that they're saying. The 21% rate in the United States of America, when you add the average state rate across the United States, is at 25%. Our greatest adversary in the world economically, nobody else is even close, is China at 25%. Do you think it's smart business practice for the global economy for us to be one of the higher tax nations in the world?
I don't think it's a good idea to borrow money from China.
I asked you a question. I didn't ask you about that. China has a whole different way. I said, you think it's smart business practices to be the highest tax nation in the world when it comes to global competitiveness?
It matters how these things are paid for.
Do you think China worries about that?
I mean, they lend money to us. They don't have that problem.
They're lending less today because they understand the importance of what we're doing. Do you remember in 2017, again, I wasn't in Congress, but I was an observer from the outside, wasn't even running for Congress. When the 21% corporate rate was lowered, the other nations around the world lowered their rate so they could remain competitive with the United States of America because they were afraid of what was happening was going to impact them, and it did. The 4,000 inversions before 2017, we've had zero since then. No one argues that. No one is talking about the impact of the tax rate. It did change the hearts and minds of America. It did. And it created corporations here. They didn't leave anymore. They didn't go buy companies from somewhere else and relocate their headquarters. The 199A, it puts a parity between small business pass-throughs and C corporations, of which 95% of the businesses in America are pass-throughs. Are there some larger than others? Absolutely. Are we going to be punitive to those people who have fought and grown their businesses from one person, as I did, to 1,200 employees? Are we evil because we created jobs? Okay, so why aren't we sitting here saying, yes, what's the percentage of people, the businesses in America, that you think you're so disgusted with that are getting 199A pass-through deductions as compared to somebody that's got one person?
I'm not disgusted by anybody receiving 199 Cap A. I would love to cut taxes for businesses, but it's a question of how we pay for it. Are we doing it through taxes on imported goods? Are we cutting Medicaid? Those things matter too.
Mr. Chairman, I've run out of time. I yield my time back.